Thank you, Dave. Wow, how in the world do you follow that, huh? Some great content already today. Loads of insights from the CIOs. Fantastic update from Dave there. Loads of excitement, exciting releases and upcoming events. So I guess maybe I don't follow that up. What will I do? Well, maybe I'll tell you all the things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to talk about AI. That's a good one, right? I've not got any jokes this year. Sorry. I mean, a lot of you will probably be very, very happy about that. In fact, the one thing that I do have, though, is just a really nice, simple, clear message and choice around why we're actually doing what we're doing in UCaaS. So it's great to see a lot of familiar faces, and it's also really great to see a lot of new faces. So if you're new to Gamma, perhaps you don't know these stats, that we do UCaaS pretty well. In fact, we are the market leader in what we do around Teams telephony and also in our Cisco-based Horizon platform as well. But something wasn't quite right. We looked at this, we looked at our customers, we listened because we are customer-driven. And what we found was that neither of these solutions in our portfolio covered and addressed every single one of our customers' needs and requirements. And wondered why that was. So we had a look at it. And again, some of the things I'm not going to do today, I'm not going to actually touch on the business outcomes that we're solving for with UCaaS because we've done that a lot. This is much more of a simple story here. Well, what we focused in and looked at was where are the areas that we need to add more? And actually, across those solutions, we have more requirements for advanced security in enterprise organizations. We have to be able to deliver this on a global basis. And not only that, we're looking at real enterprise CX scenarios integrated with the PBX and some really technical, some may say boring, calling scenarios that are very specific and niche. So some of these, Microsoft Teams and Horizon, they cover some of these things individually, but as a whole, they didn't cover absolutely everything. So we went to the market. We looked at the UCaaS market. We actually knocked quite a few of the players out of that magic quadrant for various different reasons in terms of their route to market or their suitability for the UK market and our customers. And what we landed on was a choice of three. The three market leaders in UCaaS. One we already have, which was Microsoft Teams. But you see there, even if we tried to plug gaps and fulfill everything, it wouldn't solve everybody's problem. We would only address 1/3 of our customers' problems, wants, and needs at that point. So the second biggest in there was Cisco. And actually, well, to be honest, that made it a bit of a natural choice for us. We've already got a great relationship with Cisco. They're an enterprise brand. You know, they're predicted to take 12% of the market. Not only that, as Dave said, it's quite a complementary play to Microsoft Teams. It's not an either or. But I'm going to have to put my hand up. I come from a Microsoft background, and I've been in UCaaS for about 20 years. And I was quite skeptical when we thought about WebEx, and we're looking at it, and I had lots of questions. And I thought, haven't they lost their way a little bit? They're not investing. Isn't it a bit old hat? Aren't customers moving away? In fact, actually, a lot of our Microsoft Teams customers that we put onto Teams come from a Cisco old PBX. And then I saw these stats. What an incredible set of numbers, right? This is something that is absolutely phenomenal, outstanding, actually, to see these numbers. And I was looking at it and goes, okay, but this is just a number slide. What does that actually mean? What do you mean by enterprise-grade telephony? Now, one of the facts was that Cisco, turns out, they ported 95% of all of their on-prem features from their world-leading PBX into the cloud. Not many other people have actually been able to do that. So phenomenal. But still, it didn't ring true. How are they doing it? So the answer is quite simple. Cisco have an acquisitive strategy. They've been leapfrogging hurdles that other people are stuck on through buying companies, the best in breed in market, and bringing them into their portfolio. For example, what came as a surprise to me when I was doing my research on this is WebEx was actually acquired by Cisco. WebEx was not a Cisco-born company, 2007. Neither was CUCM, their old call manager platform. Broadworks, the cloud platform, the leading cloud telephony platform in the world, Cisco bought. Slido, we're using Slido today, now owned by Cisco. All of these things brought together and baked into the WebEx suite. So they have got market-leading technologies all working together in a package, bringing it to with enterprise-grade telephony to you. So they are doing a lot there. They also provide a range of different CX technologies for the simple tasks for just enhanced call reporting up to full AI-infused CX platform. I did use AI, but it's not mine, it's Cisco's. Now, this is a really beautiful slide, isn't it? And I have to say, Anisha, who did our slides, who's done a phenomenal job, she's actually made this look pretty, because, wow, these are the boring boxes that nobody ever wants to talk about, and we're talking about people centricity, outcomes-based. Unfortunately, sometimes the box on the wall you just can't escape from. These are door entry systems, pagers, in manufacturing areas where you just need to see a big flashy light on the wall. We need these things. And these are all calling scenarios that WebEx can actually cater for. If you're part of Gamma, this is a bit of an in-joke, which is actually, this is multi-cell decked. It's been something that we've wanted in our portfolio for a long time. Unfortunately, the platforms we had just didn't support it. Now they do. You can actually build native support for multi-cell decked networks within WebEx calling. So it's really quite impressive. So in short, Gamma are adding and extending our UCaaS portfolio by adding in Cisco WebEx calling. Not only that, we're going to take our market-leading UCX platform and our CoolWave acquisition, and we're combining them to provide this service on a global scale. So very, very good. Now, it's not stopping there. We are talking about UCaaS. This was a UCaaS update. But we've been working with Cisco for a very long time, and this is actually just one step that we're taking to cement and expand our relationship with them in a very strategic manner across collaboration and CX. And we'll be telling a lot about our CX practice in the coming months about how we're building and strengthening that. We're also doing it across our security platform, which I'll touch later on in the afternoon, and also in our networking play. And just to show how much of a strategic relationship we have, we're actually joined by Cisco today. We have Joaquim here. And Joaquim, I'd like to invite you onto the stage, and Joaquim is going to talk to us about our partnership and also why Cisco are still extremely relevant in the collaboration market.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice one.
All right.
Good afternoon. I hope you're all having a good morning. It's been really, really informative. Lots of fantastic insights that I've been learning from as well this morning. And it's wonderful to hear that a cynical, skeptical Scotsman can be convinced. That is an unusual scenario, so we'll take that as a little win already. My job for the next 5-10 minutes is probably just to share a few of my, I guess, experiences as a user of WebEx, as you would expect, inside Cisco, and some of the innovations that we have been delivering in the platform over the course of the last, certainly 2 to 3 years. But before I do that, there's a number of you who are a customer of ours or customers of other vendors, and you may have experienced the scenario where we will stand here and convince you, or try to convince you, that our technology is a business outcome in and of itself. I know, it's unusual. Now, we know, you and I know, that just isn't the case. And it's really, really important that I emphasize that, yes, we have our important responsibility that we recognize around technology innovation, and I'm going to share some of that with you. But without the partnership with Gamma, without that expertise, without the relationship, that long-held relationship with all of you, the service capability, that know-how, that's the thing when you marry the two together that brings it to life, obviously, alongside you and your environments as well. So it's a really, really important aspect for us, and partnership is at the very heart of what we do, and we are genuinely excited about the growing relationship and partnership with Gamma. Now, I mentioned innovations, and there's been lots of things, and I will be forced to use those 2 letters at various points in the next few minutes. But we have had to think differently about how we innovate. There's been a number of events that have meant that from a collaboration and communication standpoint, have had major change on how we go to work, where we work, how we work, and our expectations of that. And then, of course, some of the capability and the tooling, etc., is something that obviously that we really focus on as well. But our innovation is very much focused primarily on driving the outcome, which is the best possible user experience, optimizing that and delivering ultimately, practical use. So it was said earlier today, there is a danger that the short-term impact of AI is potentially overestimated. And it hasn't necessarily changed all of our lives that much yet, but we can see very clearly that it's really important that we harness that, particularly from our perspective in terms of how we innovate moving forward. I just wanted to pick a couple. I mean, the fact is, over the course of the last 2 to 3 years, the rate of innovation in the WebEx platform. Some of you may have been on WebEx before. And known what it was before, and it's a very different experience, very different beast these days, and the rate of innovation in the last 2 to 3 years has really eclipsed that of the previous 5+. There's been literally hundreds of features and capabilities that have been added just in the last 12 to 18 months alone, and that's through acquisition, as been mentioned, and also in-house innovation as well. But I'm a user, and I use it on a day-to-day basis for large chunks of that day, typically. And there's some really obvious things that I've come to just, take for granted, but, recognize the sort of practical use of as well. You can see some of the categories here around where we've innovated around language intelligence, audio intelligence, video intelligence. We acquired an organization called Babel Labs, and their sole purpose was about background noise removal. Now, I'm sure you've all been on the conference call. Someone opens a bag of crisps, dogs barking in the background, door goes, kids are all fighting. Is that just my house? Since we turned on background noise removal, we have removed 96 billion minutes of unwanted noise. Now, I have a sense that in my house, I quite like that feature generally, but it's certainly very useful within, when I'm using WebEx. A lot of our heritage in Cisco around audio and video and the quality around that, just delivering greater audio quality has a number of benefits around things like accuracy around meeting translation, meeting transcription, meeting summaries. Now, I don't know, I'm going to see a show of hands in here, but when you miss a conference call, a WebEx or a Teams call, and someone says you can watch it on catch-up, there's a few sniggers. I'm not putting my hand up because I very rarely do this, but who religiously goes back and watches that on catch-up? Not one hand. Not one hand, I knew it. We recognize that. So what we now have is we deliver meeting summaries. So you can get the recording, you can get the transcript, you can get the summary of the key points, you get the recording chapterized so you can hot link through to that part of the meeting that might be of most interest to you. And straight away, you've cut down on watching an entire 1 hour, 2 hour, however long it is, and you're getting straight to the point. That as a productivity tool and assistance is of great use. And we see that within the WebEx chat as well. Now, I don't know, again, about you, whether chat or email, where that is in terms of the prevalence of what you use. But chat is something that, from a written point of view, is what we use an awful lot, and certainly more than email. But again, when you step out for an hour or two, maybe a day or two, or on holiday, it used to be you come back and you block your morning and you just delete emails, delete. It's different in chat. You can't quite do it the same way. You sort of have to sort of scroll through and read it and see all the unread messages, and it all gets really, really confusing, so you give up. Now, you get summaries. So you can go in, you can click on a button, you get a meeting summary, and it'll tell you again all the salient points that have happened within that chat. It'll tell you you've got actions from that discussion, and give you most of the salient points from that. And again, you're catching up straight away much, much more quickly. So again, it's a very useful capability within the platform. And there's another capability which I don't actually know the name of, I'm ashamed to say. I call it the Magic Wizard Bot. And it's a little sort of magic wand kind of icon that you click. So say you're typing a message. Let's say English isn't your first language, and I understand that some of you might think that English is not my first language. But let's say it's not, and you just need a little bit of assistance. You click that little magic wizard bot, and it'll come up with something that's grammatically correct, accurate, reads correctly, will fix any of the mistakes for you. Furthermore, let's say spelling isn't your hot point, or maybe you're even thinking about how you need to communicate with someone. My boss tells me I'm not succinct enough. So when I think about how I'm going to communicate with him, and I've written out a large paragraph that I'm expecting him to, digest and do something with, I can go into that bot, click on a couple of options around how I want it to be, formal, informal, light, succinct. Click on it, and it will come up with a suggestion that, generally speaking, will improve the message that I have written. And again, if you're thinking about how you're trying to communicate with people, there's a snobbery side of me that says, I should be able to do that. Language, that's one of the things I might be able to do. However, when you look at what some of the suggestions that come up through the platform, as I say, through the bot, very, very impressive stuff. We also talk about this phrase, it's slightly Californian, so I'll apologize in advance, but meeting you, our customers, where you are. Just fathom that for a second. But in my mind, that's also about how we work and integrate with some of the other significant others in your landscape. So, for example, with Microsoft, and how we integrate with Teams, and also in terms of MTR with our WebEx devices, with Apple across their sort of full range of devices, laptops, iPads, CarPlay, Apple TV, and most recently the Apple Vision Pro, which is a fully immersive meeting experience, which kind of has to be seen to be believed. So that's something that we're also working on, and making sure that we bring that experience through the vehicle or the platforms that you are using. And we mentioned it before in terms of the acquisitions and how we bring all of this together. All of these capabilities that you can see here, whether we've innovated and done that in-house or acquired or some combination thereof, are all available within that WebEx suite. If you think about some of the other scenarios, you have to be working with a number of other third parties to deliver all of that, and clearly that brings some manageability and cost and TCO challenges as well. But with WebEx, you have it all in one price per user per month. Reimagining workspace with devices. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. There are some unashamed pictures of products. Apologies for that. When we all adapted to largely remote working and then hybrid working, I don't know about you, but our expectations then changed. And again, show of hands, how many people have got a significantly pimped home office environment with screens and sympathetic studio lighting? I saw one very shy hand go up there. We actually take care of that now. We have a feature inside WebEx called screen lighting, and it will automatically adapt to that scenario. But our expectations have changed, because when I now go into one of our offices and I can't click on a button for immediate video to talk to someone, or I am now much more deliberate about why I go into the office because I've settled into a little bit of a different pattern around hybrid work. I then have a different expectation. I'm going into the office for a particular reason, and that reason is not to sit in a desk on my own in front of a screen doing WebExes all day, because I can do that at home and I don't need that commute. I then have, therefore, a different expectation of the office environment when I get there, and video and pervasive video is a big part of that. And we know already that typically these days, 98% is what the stats would say. 98% of meetings will have had at least one remote participant, sometimes more. And you've been in that situation, I am sure, when you are that remote participant and everyone else is in the room and they're chatting and you can't hear what they're saying and you're trying to interject and you can't, and guess what? You switch off and you're done with it. What you need with that is technology in the room and in the platform as well. We've had NVIDIA chips, shameless NVIDIA plug there as well, chips inside our WebEx devices for some time, because we need that capability on the ground, in the rooms, to start to deliver on some of the audio and video intelligence in the room, speaker tracking, meeting zones, cinematic meetings. I don't know if you've seen any of that. It's actually like watching not a particularly interesting movie, but a movie nevertheless. And it's all about delivering a very different user experience for the types of meetings that we have today in our environments. And I'll leave you with this thought. I'll leave you with this thought on this slide. That only 15% of conference rooms are video enabled, generally speaking, globally at the moment. Think about that in terms of the number of meetings that have remote participants. And you can see there's a bit of a mismatch there in terms of the experience that we're all seeking to enjoy and deliver. Talked earlier and at the beginning around partnership. And we see our role very much around innovation, around investment, both in terms of the portfolio and also in terms of the partnership. And that's both in terms of building a long-term partnership with Gamma, but also collectively us doing that with you, delivering on the things that you need in each of these domains. I've talked today about how that manifests within the WebEx platform, but actually that extends across all of these other elements that you can see in the bubbles there, whether it's network, security, observability, etc., etc. That is the breadth and depth of the partnership as it's developing between Cisco and Gamma. So I'm going to finish there. Thank you for your attention. I'm looking for Chris. Where is he? Oh, he's there. I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Hope you take that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, Joaquim. I'm very conscious I stand between you and a very exciting speaker, so I will try and make Gamma and Cisco as exciting for everybody for 8 minutes as I can do before handing off onto that. And what Joaquim talked about there was the breadth of the portfolio that Cisco bring and how it maps onto, in our world, the thing that Alex showed earlier, which is trying to describe all the problems that we think you have, that we can deliver a solution for, wrapped in what Gamma's famous for and what you look to us for. And if you think about what that is, it builds from my right to the left in terms of data, networking, the experiences we're trying to deliver to our colleagues, our employees, but also to our customers, suppliers and partners, making sure that's secure, as Dave referenced, an ever-increasing threat environment. This has to be wrapped in a secure envelope. And really, you're looking to us as well to provide these as solutions, so you can rely on a partner to deliver these things out. And when we started talking to Cisco, we realized, probably a little bit slow on the uptake, that actually what they do maps very closely to what we're trying to deliver and achieve. And their portfolio fits under those elements as we've described and really helps bring those to life and deliver that end-to-end flexible, future-proof communications infrastructure that you are all looking for in one way, shape or form through your business. And we see that really embedding in these three areas particularly. Rich talked about UCaaS, and that sits firmly in that middle one. I'll also touch a little bit on where we see that unfolding for networking and for security across the whole of the Gamma group. And if you think about collaboration and customer experience, I think you've just seen Joaquim giving his personal opinion of personal view of how that helps him, an individual, from a productivity perspective. I'd like to sort of unashamedly talk about AI for a second and build on some of the things that we have talked about. So Al talked about AI, talked about large language models, we talked about it last year. They power ChatGPT. And we as humans, obviously, our stock in trade is words. But large language models only touch on words. As humans, words are about 8% of what we communicate to each other. The other 92% sits in how we say it, how we look, and how we feel when we do it. And so some of the AI investment that we look at, that Cisco does, that powers some of the summarization that Joaquim described, is in that RMM, real-time media model. If you think about marrying that with the audio clarity and the video capability that Joaquim described, that for me gives a really good example. Many people in this room have lots of people inside their organizations whose job it is day to day to talk to people like us about problems or opportunities that they have. And that, having sat in them, is an incredibly tiring and stressful environment, particularly if there's a problem. What AI can do, and what these models put together can do, is support those people. They can support them in an individual call with, you might want to think about this type of answer. You might want to think about raising this type of opportunity. They can collect that, summarize it as Joaquim described, and feed that back so that the whole workforce that you have can improve from each call that comes through. But also critically, if you think about the well-being of the people that work for us, the AI can help wrap that, can help look after their well-being by saying, this agent has just had 3 really difficult calls on the bounce. Perhaps you might want to think about giving them a break now. And when we have that, talent was listed as one of the CIO key challenges. If you think about retaining, attracting talent, how expensive it is for the organization, how draining it is, this kind of AI can embed into those day-to-day processes and really deliver that outcome that can support everything you're trying to do as an organization. And so we see Cisco working with WebEx in both the UCaaS and CCaaS spaces, with the investment in AI and fundamental technologies connecting really quickly through to outcomes that can support what the organization is trying to achieve in supporting their customers. Critically, that also applies in networking and security. So Dave's referenced in previous GXs, for those that have been here, about how COVID has forced everybody to reimagine what their network looks like. Everybody's sitting now at home, in a cafe, in an office, in a home office, trying to connect into a network rather than sitting in one place, maybe dialing out. That forces us rather to think about that network topology and forces us to think about what it's capable of doing. We know we need to move through that times, and working with Cisco, we know that's a good partnership. Ironically, when we've talked to them about that, it turns out we're already one of their largest partners in that Meraki space. So we've got this heritage already that we're now building on with that connection coming together. And we've talked about security, and this is a little bit of a signpost to some of the sessions this afternoon, talking about value-driven networking and also the cyber environment. If you think about what the biggest challenge with security, it's humans and making sure that the devices that we as humans interact with are all safe, secure, up to date. Some of the things that, I listened to what Cisco described in that with Hypershield, moves that into what they describe as an AI scale security environment, where we don't have to worry about doing these things on a person or a device basis. The machines will look after that for us. And that might be moderately terrifying for those of us that remember Skynet, but actually it has the potential to make our lives a lot simpler across the board as we embrace these things. Rich referenced Coolwave, a business that we brought in to bring voice technology and voice capability into Gamma at a much larger geographic coverage than we have been able to do in the past. Part of the utility or part of the attraction for us working with Cisco is all these products that we've just described, all these outcomes which are now possible to deliver, can address that need that Dave described of, can you support this in this country over here too? We can answer it with a much more definitive yes now than we've perhaps ever been able to do before. So we're benefiting from that innovation in terms of raw technology and the fundamentals that are there, the benefit that delivers in terms of supporting outcomes across the organization, but also moving much further beyond a single country. We're known for being very strong in the UK, but we can now support you and your operations in every country in which you operate, and with a footprint which is growing day by day. So if I was to summarize before handing over to the person you're really here to see, what we see and what Gamma's trying to describe with elements, building from a data, a network, an application environment that's highly secure. You also need it because you're investing for the future to be flexible, to be scalable, to embrace that curiosity that the original panel described of what is the next new technology, what will the next data transmission protocol be, what will the next medium that we as consumers want to talk to a company be. You need your business-wide communications infrastructure to support all of those for today and tomorrow. And we think this partnership with Gamma and Cisco together is one of the key vehicles that will help you be able to do that.